People think a house is shelter. Mine was a mouth. In a small Texas town, my stepmother, Caroline Bennett, locked me behind a door with no doorknob and kept me there for 20 years while the neighborhood waved at our mailbox. My dad, Mark, heard me once. Then he disappeared. The worst part? She didn't just hide me. She rewrote the paperwork that proved I existed, so when the truth finally broke loose, even I wasn't sure anyone would believe it. A lock can erase you. A door can feel like a suggestion until it becomes a verdict. In our house, the hallway always smelled like lemon cleaner and secrets. And the night Caroline decided I was a problem, the whole place turned into a trap. My name is Riley Bennett. Small town Texas, wide roads, heat that never quits. Before Caroline, I was already the kid adults sighed about. My mom died when I was 8, sudden, unfair. After that, my dad, Mark, worked longer hours and talked less. He called my grief attitude because it was easier than admitting he didn't know what to do with it. At school, I became the outsider fast. I flinched at raised voices. I snapped at jokes about moms. Soon, I was the girl people called difficult. Then Caroline arrived like a solution. She wore pressed jeans and a soft church smile, the kind that makes neighbors relax. The first time she met me, she brought a casserole and said my name like she'd practiced it. "Riley, I've heard so much." At home, her warmth shut off fast. Caroline cared about optics like oxygen. She kept the counters spotless. She kept her hair perfect. She kept our story simple. Widower, fresh start, sweet new wife. If anyone asked about me, she'd touch my shoulder in public and say, "We're working on things," like I was a project. I tried to warn my dad. I didn't have proof, just patterns. Her eyes skimmed over me like I was a stain on his life. She answered questions meant for him. She corrected me mid-sentence. Little cuts, clean and quiet. Mark would rub his forehead and say, "Just give it time, Riley." She stole my credibility first. If I said my phone was missing, Caroline would sigh. She misplaces things. If I said she'd gone through my drawers, she'd smile. She's dramatic. Every complaint became a personality flaw. And Mark, tired, guilty, desperate for peace, let her translate me for him. A month after the wedding, I saw a thick envelope on the kitchen table. Real paper, bank letterhead. My dad's name and my mom's maiden name printed in the corner. Caroline slid it into a drawer the second she noticed me staring. "What's that?" I asked. "Adult stuff," she said, still smiling. "Don't worry." But I did worry, because she touched it like it belonged to her. That night, I heard them talking in the living room. Controlled voices, tight edges. I only caught scraps through the vent. Beneficiary. Trust. Update. Then Mark's voice, smaller than I'd ever heard it. "She's my daughter." Caroline answered like she was correcting a child. "And she's unstable." After that, she started managing my life like a risk assessment. Dinner at 6, lights out at 9, no friends over, no phone in my room, containment. Then came the night the house changed. Texas heat pressed against the windows. The AC was losing. Mark came home late, smelling like diesel and sweat, eyes hollowed out by work and guilt. Caroline stood in the hallway, calm as glass. "Riley had another episode today," she said. "I didn't," I snapped. "I asked where that bank letter went." Mark's eyes flicked to Caroline. That was all it took. One glance, permission. Caroline's smile stayed in place. "See?" she said softly. "She's escalating." My throat tightened. "Dad, tell her to stop." Mark didn't move. He didn't defend me. He just stood there, trapped in his own weakness, like love was something he'd forgotten how to use. Caroline lifted a key ring. I remember the sound. Barely a jingle, like she'd trained herself to keep it quiet. "Come on," she said. "We're going to get you settled." "Settled where?" She opened a door at the end of the hall. I'd seen it 100 times and never cared. It looked like a closet. Storage? Nothing special. She guided me inside with a hand on my shoulder that would have looked gentle to anyone watching. The room was small, a vent, a bare light, a thin mattress on the floor like an insult. Then she closed the door. I reached for the knob. There wasn't one. No knob, no mercy. I slammed my palm against the smooth wood, searching, scratching. Outside, Caroline turned the key with a slow, satisfied click. Mark's voice came once, weak and distant. "Riley, just calm down." Caroline answered him, not me. "She'll be fine," she said. "This is for everyone's safety." I pressed my forehead to the door and listened to their footsteps fade. The AC hummed, the house settled, the world outside kept turning. And in that airless quiet, the thought arrived like ice. That lock wasn't a mistake. It was a plan. Time for 50s. The house didn't just sit there. It breathed. Cold air out, stale air back in, like it was feeding. And somewhere inside its lungs, behind that door with no doorknob, I was being swallowed 1 hour at a time. I learned the schedule by sound. Caroline's heels, the soft click of her keyring, the tray sliding in, lukewarm food, a cup that smelled faintly like bleach. Then the lock, always last. In that room, the temperature never matched Texas. The AC hummed like a lie. When it cut out, the silence hit so hard I could hear my own blood. I stopped yelling early, not because I got tired, because I got trained. There were rules my body learned on its own. Don't cry when the tray comes. Don't stand too close to the door. Don't count days, count sounds, trash truck, lawnmower, football cheers drifting through the wall. And when I tried to push back, Caroline didn't fight me like a villain. She corrected me like a teacher. "You imagined it," she'd say through the door, voice flat, bored. "You get worked up and you make things up." Once, I begged to talk to my dad. I didn't scream. I tried soft, like softness could buy me air. Caroline laughed, just a little. Not happy, amused. "Nobody will believe you," she said. "And Mark agrees with me." That was the part that cracked my head open, not the lock. The way she used his name like a stamp, like he'd signed off on my disappearance. Outside, Caroline stayed polished. When she had company, the house filled with laughter and clinking ice. The smell of roast chicken slid under my door. Never for me, always for the performance. "Oh, she's staying with family right now," she'd say. Or, "She's in a special program." And when she wanted the conversation to end fast, she'd add a pause and a careful sigh. It's mental health. Adults stopped asking questions the second she made me sound complicated. And if anyone pushed, she turned it into virtue. We're doing what's best for her. The scariest part was how clean it was. No scene, no witnesses. Just a girl getting erased while the neighborhood waved at the mailbox. Halfway through some year I couldn't name anymore, I heard Mark's truck in the driveway. Not a maybe, not a dream. The engine rumbled and died. My whole body went still. His footsteps were heavier than hers. Slower, like every step cost him something. He came down the hall and stopped right outside my door, close enough that I could hear him breathe. "Dad," I whispered. "Please." Silence, sharp, staged. Then Caroline's voice slid in, calm and quick, like she'd been waiting for this moment. "Don't," she said. One word, a leash. Then, softer to him, so soft it made my blood go cold. "If you open that door, you're choosing chaos again." Mark didn't answer me. I heard him shift, like he almost stepped forward. Then I heard him step back. That was when I understood the lock wasn't just metal. It was permission. No one was coming. That truth didn't make me brave. It made me careful. I started storing details like currency. How many seconds between the key turning and the tray sliding in? Which nights Caroline came home late with the smell of perfume and cold air? Which days the house stayed too quiet, no footsteps, no phone calls, like she was watching me from somewhere I couldn't see. She erased me clean. I practiced being invisible even when I was alone. Shallow breaths when she walked past. Panic swallowed before it became sound. I replayed every sentence she ever said, not because I believed her, but because I needed to predict her. People like Caroline didn't explode. They tightened. Then, one afternoon, the routine broke. The front door slammed hard enough to rattle the vent above me. Her heels were faster, sharper. No church voice, no company voice. Just anger she wasn't bothering to dress up. She stopped outside my door and didn't open it because she didn't need to. "Your father isn't coming home," she said, almost gentle. I went cold. "What?" A small pause, a breath like she was savoring it. "He's gone," she said, "and the last person who could have unlocked you just disappeared." She said it like she was reading a weather report. "He's gone, and the last person who could have unlocked you just disappeared." I waited for the next sound. Mark's truck, the garage door, his slow, guilty footsteps, anything that proved Caroline was lying the way she always lied. Nothing came. That first night without him, the house felt different. Lighter. Meaner. No late TV murmur. No faucet running while he washed his hands. Just Caroline moving down the hall with purpose, like she'd finally been handed full control. The next morning, I got confirmation the only way I ever got truth, through scraps. Her phone rang in the kitchen, loud enough to bleed through the vent. She answered on speaker for a second, careless, before she remembered herself. "Yes, I'm his wife," she said. A pause. A voice I couldn't make out. Then her tone turned clean and official. "Time, 450 mail. No, she's not family," she said. "There's no daughter here." My stomach dropped so hard it felt like the floor moved. She lowered the volume, but I caught one more phrase, thin, sharp, undeniable. "Accident on Route 87. Then silence, not the normal kind. The kind that means a door just closed somewhere you can't reach. After that, Caroline rewrote my world in a week. Food got smaller, not dramatic. Measured, a half sandwich instead of a full one. Water that tasted like the cup hadn't been rinsed, and the timing changed. Sometimes early, sometimes so late my hands shook before the tray arrived. The house got quieter on purpose. No music, no TV. Even the vacuum, her favorite cover noise, disappeared. She wanted to hear me breathe. She wanted me to know she could. And then she upgraded the lock. The first time she turned it, the sound was deeper, heavier. Not a click, more like steel biting steel. A bank vault sound, a "you're not leaving" sound. Her steps changed too. No more predictable routine. She walked in loops, stopped at my door, said nothing. Just presence. That was the punishment. Uncertainty. The first time I tried to hope, she crushed it like it was routine. "Dad," I whispered, too soft to be brave. "If you're—" Her footsteps appeared out of nowhere. "Don't do that," she said through the door. One sentence. No anger, just control. "I can hear everything," she added. "And you don't want to make me reorganize your life." Reorganize, like I was a closet. Hope became a trigger. If I tapped the wall to signal I was still alive, she'd stop feeding me until I went quiet again. If I cried too loud, the AC mysteriously cut off and the room turned stale and hot, like the house itself was holding its breath. I learned the rules by consequence. Outside, Texas kept being Texas, Summer heat, cicadas, cars on the wide road, and nobody came. People minded their business. From the curb, our house looked normal. From my room, it was a slow burial. Then I heard something new. Paper. One afternoon, a box dragged across the hallway, cardboard scraping hardwood. It stopped near my door, and I froze, because Caroline never stored anything close to me unless she wanted me to hear it. Envelopes shushed. A folder thumped down, then a small metal clack, like a floor safe being set on wood. A key turned, not my lock, something private. Caroline was on the phone again, voice sweet in that public way. Time, 4:50. Yes, I have his documents, she said. Everything is in order. A pause. No, she continued, colder now. Strike her name. She was never... She stopped herself, took a breath, and the syrup returned. Never part of the arrangement. My heart hammered. Documents. His documents. My name. After the call, she leaned close enough to my door that I could smell her perfume through the crack. Your father made choices, she said softly. Now you can make one too. I didn't answer. Be quiet, she whispered, and you survive. Silence was my leash. Days blurred into heat and hunger and her footsteps, paper moving around the house like a second shadow. I started counting again, not days, moments, seconds between hallway light and that new lock. Then, one night, the air changed. Not just warm, wrong, dry and sharp, like something singed. The AC hummed, then hiccuped. The vent above me spat a faint, bitter smell into the room. Smoke. I pressed my face to the crack under the door and inhaled again, praying I was imagining it the way Caroline always claimed. But the smell grew heavier, and somewhere in the walls, I heard a tiny pop, like a wire sparking in the dark. And the thought that hit me wasn't, I might die. It was worse. If the house burned, nobody would ever find me. Smoke didn't rush in like a movie. It crept. Thin at first, like a bad idea you can still ignore. Then heavier, bitter, electric. The kind that sticks to the back of your throat and won't let go. The vent above me coughed warm air. The AC tried to kick on, stuttered, then died with a soft whine like something giving up. I waited for the alarm. Nothing. No shriek, no beep, no warning, just the house breathing wrong. A tiny pop snapped inside the wall. Then another, like a wire kissing fire in the dark. The overhead light flickered once, twice, and went out. Darkness bought denial. Then the heat arrived. It wasn't Texas heat. It was inside heat, alive, rolling along the floor like the house was cooking its own secret. I dropped to my knees and pressed my face to the crack under the door. The air there was cooler. Still wrong, but breathable. Help, I whispered. Not a scream, a test. No answer. That's when the worst thought landed, calm and brutal. This room wasn't a room. It was a container, and fire turns containers into coffins. I shoved my shoulder into the door. The wood didn't budge. I hit it again. The lock held like it was proud of itself. I scraped my nails along the edge, searching for something, anything. No knob, no latch, just smooth paint and my own panic sliding down it. Then, footsteps. Real ones. Fast, heavy. My heart slammed. I pressed my mouth to the crack and forced air out. I'm here. Please. The footsteps stopped right outside. For one bright second, I believed the universe had finally gotten tired of Caroline. A key turned. Not my lock. A different lock. Smaller. Private. Paper rustled. A drawer slammed. Then her heels clicked away. Quick. Controlled. She came for the documents, not me. The smoke thickened. It curled under the door like fingers. The taste turned oily, like plastic melting somewhere it shouldn't. My eyes burned. Tears came whether I wanted them or not. I banged again, harder. "Fire!" I rasped. "Please, there's a fire!" And then I heard Caroline's voice, loud and bright, from farther down the hall. "I've got it," she called. "Everything's fine." She wasn't talking to me. She was talking to the world. The front door opened. Outside, air moved through the house, and the smoke shifted. With it came a sound I hadn't heard in years, another adult voice, calm and official. "Ma'am, you called it in?" "Yes," Caroline said instantly, sweet as church. "Laundry room, probably nothing, but you can never be too careful." My stomach dropped. Rescue was here, and it wasn't coming to my door. Boots moved down the hallway, more than one, gear scraping, a radio crackle. Real help, right outside my cage. I hit the door again. "Hey, Caroline's heels snapped closer, fast. She didn't yell. She didn't panic. She whispered, low and sharp, like a blade. "Not a sound," she said, "or you'll regret surviving." Clean, immediate. The house groaned. A deep crack sounded somewhere above me. The vent rattled. The air went hotter, thicker. I dropped back to the floor, cheek against the cool strip near the door, taking tiny sips of air like I was stealing it. Then I heard water. Somewhere else. A hose line opening. Relief surged so hard it almost made me dizzy. "Time. 400 years," a voice barked. "Ma'am, you need to get outside." "I'm fine," Caroline insisted. "My husband's gone. It's just me. I can't leave the house." A lone widow, responsible homeowner, no mention of a child, no mention of a locked room. A beam of light swept the gap under my door. I swallowed smoke and forced my voice out one more time, small but desperate. "Please," I said, "I'm here." A pause. "Did you hear that?" a firefighter asked. Caroline answered too fast. "Old place, it settles, makes noises." Old place, noises. She tried to turn my voice into architecture, but the boots didn't move away. I heard someone step closer. "Ma'am," the firefighter said, slower now, "what's behind this wall?" Caroline laughed, light and offended. "Storage, it's nothing. You're wasting time." Then the fire pushed back. The hallway air shifted, even through my door. Pressure, heat, smoke forcing itself into places it didn't belong. "Step back," the firefighter snapped. Her heels retreated. Reluctant. Metal clanked. A tool met drywall. The wall beside my door vibrated. Not the door itself, something next to it. A panel. A section that shouldn't have been there. The first strike hit like thunder. Dust rained down through the vent, gritty on my tongue. Another strike. Another. The sound shook my ribs. A thin rectangle of light split the darkness near my doorframe. Fresh air punched in, cold and sharp, and I gasped like I'd never breathed before. A flashlight beam cut through dust and found my face. For a second, the firefighter didn't speak. He just stared, like his brain refused to accept what his eyes were seeing. Then he said one word, flat with disbelief. "Jesus, they built this for you." Behind him, I heard Caroline's voice change for the first time. Tight, calculating. "That's..." she started, then caught herself. "She's not well." The firefighter didn't look away from me. "Ma'am," he said, voice turning cold. "Why is there a child behind a sealed wall?" Caroline snapped into her script. "She's dangerous. I was protecting her. She has episodes." "Step outside." He cut her off. "Now." Hands reached for me, gentle, careful, pulling me through the opening. My lungs burned on real air. My vision swam. But the world on the other side of that wall was loud and alive. As they moved me down the hall, I caught Caroline at the far end. Hair perfect, face composed, eyes calculating, planning, and loud enough for everyone to hear, she lifted her chin and tried one last move. "She's been lying for attention," she said. The house finally opened its mouth, and Caroline tried to make me the monster that crawled out. The first night outside that wall, I couldn't sleep in a bed. They gave me clean sheets, a plastic cup of water, and a door with a knob. A normal knob. I stared at it like it was a miracle and a threat at the same time. People came in with careful faces. Medic, deputy, clipboard. Then the questions started. Name, age, when I last saw my father. Every answer felt like a trap, because for 20 years, my words had been used against me. Caroline had already planted her story. I could hear it in my head, polished and confident. "She's unstable. She lies. She's dangerous. I protected her." Now the world had to pick which version of me it wanted to believe. A deputy sat across from me, pen poised like he was trying not to spook a wild animal. "Do you have any identification?" he asked. I let out a breath that almost sounded like a laugh. "No," I said. "She kept everything." He wrote it down and asked the next question like it hurt him to ask. "Do you have any family besides her?" "I had a dad," I said. "Mark," and then he disappeared. The air changed. Like that sentence slid a heavy piece into place. They went back to the house. I didn't. I stayed in that clean room, listening to the building hum, waiting to see if the world would decide I was real. Hours later, a nurse stepped in with wide eyes and a careful voice. "They're still at the property," she said. "They found something." After midnight, the deputy returned. He wasn't saying "sweetheart" anymore. He said my name, Riley, like he meant it. "We talked to neighbors," he said. "She told them you were sent away." He opened his folder. "We found a hidden safe," he said. Cold moved through me. A floor safe under a rug in the master closet. "She refused to give us the combination," he added. "So we opened it." Inside were envelopes stacked like bricks, bank letters, a folder labeled in neat handwriting, and one document on top, folded like it had been handled. Lot. A will. He slid a copy across the table. Mark's name was there, clean and official. Then my eyes found what mattered. My name wasn't. Not crossed out, not misspelled, not buried in fine print. Missing. Like I'd never existed. The deputy watched my face like he was measuring whether my shock matched the story. "You're sure you're his daughter?" he asked quietly. My mouth opened. Nothing came out. He didn't push. He just kept going. "We also found a trust letter from the bank," he said. "Dated years ago." He tapped the page once. "It lists beneficiaries." My hands started shaking again. "And?" He hesitated just long enough to spike my pulse. "It lists one," he said. "Caroline." That was the shape of it. The lock. The routine. The mental health story. A will where I was missing. A trust that slid straight into her hands. Paper can kill you. Relief and terror hit at the same time. Relief because I wasn't crazy. This had a design. Terror because paper is powerful, and I was a girl with no ID and a story that sounded impossible. "What happens now?" I asked. "Now we verify everything," he said. Verify meant doubt, and Caroline knew how to win rooms like that. As if the universe wanted to prove it, commotion rose in the hallway, her voice sharp and controlled. They wouldn't let her into my room, but they couldn't stop her words from traveling. "She's manipulating you," Caroline snapped. "She's been unstable her whole life. I have notes. I have proof." The deputy stood. "Ma'am, step back." Caroline didn't. "I want to press charges," she said. "She's dangerous." A minute later, the deputy came back with a new look in his eyes. She's refusing to answer questions, he said, and she keeps asking about the safe. My throat went tight. Why? He slid one more item across the table, a photocopy of a bank envelope. Stamped, dated, addressed to Mark. But the return label was new. Caroline's name, Caroline's address, redirected. My pulse kicked like it used to when I heard keys. Then the deputy said the sentence that turned my blood to ice. We found a birth certificate, he said. But the copy in the safe doesn't match the one on file. I stared at him. What do you mean? He didn't soften it. Someone amended it, he said. And tomorrow, we're running DNA. He leaned in, voice low, like he didn't want Caroline to hear the truth forming. If you're right, he said, then she didn't just lock a door for 20 years. He tapped the paper once. She stole your life on paper. The next morning, I stepped outside, and the sun hit my face like a slap I didn't know I needed. Real light, unfiltered, not a blade through a crack, not a stolen beam under a door. Just Texas sky, huge, indifferent, like it had been there the whole time waiting for me to catch up. A pickup rolled by, and the tires hissed on warm asphalt. The air smelled like dust, cut grass, and gasoline. Normal smells. They made my stomach twist because my body didn't trust normal anymore. I kept touching things, railing, door frame, my own sleeves, like proof had texture. The DNA swab happened that afternoon. Simple, quiet. Too small for something that could decide whether my name belonged to me. When the confirmation came, it didn't arrive with music. A deputy sat across from me and lowered his voice like the truth might break if he said it too loud. You were right, he said. Riley, you're Mark's daughter. For a second, my brain tried to reject it, not because I doubted him, because believing it meant accepting what it cost. Across the hall, a nurse opened and closed a door without thinking. Open, close. Like freedom was an everyday habit. I watched the knob turn and felt something in my chest loosen and ache at the same time. Caroline was still trying to perform in the parking lot. Hair done, chin lifted, hands folded like prayer. Even after smoke and drywall and proof, she kept hunting for a room she could win. This time, she couldn't. They stopped letting her narrate. They looked at what she couldn't smile her way past. The safe, the redirected bank mail, the amended birth certificate, the will where I was missing like I'd never been born. When she realized paper wasn't shielding her anymore, the mask slipped. Not remorse, rage. As they led her away, she tossed one last line over her shoulder, sharp enough to cut. She asked for this, she said. I didn't answer. I didn't have to. The truth was standing on its own now. The house got sealed after the firework was done. Yellow tape across the porch. Char marks where the perfect family used to live. Neighbors hovered at a distance, pretending they weren't watching while they watched anyway. The same people who never knocked for 20 years suddenly had shock, suddenly had questions. Too late. A week later, I sat in a plain office that smelled like cheap coffee and old paper, and listened to someone explain Mark's accounts like I was a person who'd always been allowed to exist. No courtroom drama, no speeches, just a folder opened in front of me and my name typed where it should have been all along. The inheritance thread wasn't a fairy tale. It was receipts, letters from the bank, property paperwork with Mark's signature, the quiet confirmation that Caroline didn't lock me away for safety. She locked me away for control, and control, in her world, had a $sign. Stab line, paper doesn't forgive. Here's what I took from it, clean and usable. First, evil doesn't always look like violence. Sometimes it looks like concern, a perfect smile, a church voice, a woman who says she's protecting you while she deletes you. Second, routine is a weapon, not because it hurts fast, because it teaches your body to accept cages as normal. Third, if your life is being rewritten, the proof is usually boring. Mail, dates, signatures, the stuff nobody wants to check until it's the only thing that can save you. That night, they gave me a key. Not to the old house, not to the room, just a simple key to a small apartment while everything got sorted out. It felt light in my palm. Ordinary metal. Nothing heroic. I stood at the door and stared at the knob for a long time before I touched it. My hand shook, then steadied. I turned it. The latch clicked. The door opened without a fight, and out in that hallway, under that wide Texas sky, I made myself a promise I'd never said out loud before. Nobody gets to lock me in again.